Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm very happy to have you guys here. As you can see from the title, today I want to share my thoughts on one of the latest releases from the house of Ahmed al Maghribi. The fragrance is called Marj. Now I feel like this was released in 2023, somewhere in the second part of the year, I feel like. If I'm not mistaken, this has been released just a few months ago. So yes, but you guys, even though it was released a few months ago, it got a lot of popularity online. I myself got a lot of questions if I could try this fragrance, if I could share my thoughts about this fragrance, to let you know how it smells like, what I think about it, would I wear it. I also got a lot of feedback on the fragrance from people who purchased it. They came back and they told me that it smells amazing, that they love it. Even though I did get a little bit of a mixed feedback here and there, which, you know, I feel like it's normal and healthy. I feel like we all have our different tastes. But yes, like I've mentioned, you guys, today I want to share my thoughts about this fragrance. I want to let you know how it smells like, how it develops, how it performs, if I would recommend it more to women, to men, who would enjoy it. So without further ado, let's just begin. Before I start, I really want to thank so much the person who sent me a decant of this fragrance, because if it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been able to try this fragrance, at least not now, because I couldn't find samples of it anywhere and I didn't want to blind buy it. So thank you so much. In case you're watching, I don't want to mention her name because I don't know if she wants me to mention her name, but you know who you are, and thank you so much. So yes, now you know that I love this house. I've spoke here on my channel about a lot of their fragrances. I think it's an amazing house if you are looking for fragrances that don't break the bank. They are very affordable, but they smell definitely much more expensive than their price, and they have such a wide variety, let's just say, of blends. You have your Middle Eastern fragrances, you have your inspirations. But by the way, watch my buying guide for Ahmed al Maghribi if you're interested in the house. Watch this video over here. There I go in depth about what makes the brand special. I talk there as well a little bit about some of my favorite fragrances from the house, so yes, watch that video. But this is an amazing house if you want to try out some Middle Eastern fragrances. Amazing prices, amazing blends, amazing quality, amazing performance, ultra oily, so they really know how to, let's just say, stand out and offer a lot for the price that you pay for. So as you guys, now I have here the dry down of the fragrance, but let me just tell you something right from the beginning. This is not the kind of fragrance that you blind buy. I would highly encourage you, if you have the possibility, definitely go out and test it. And when I mean test it, like, don't just go to your local store, do one spray on your hand and smell it for a few seconds and done, you made an opinion. No. This fragrance, it keeps evolving and evolving and it keeps changing. I feel like this is the kind of fragrance that takes you on a wild ride, you know, with it. It develops so much and it changes so much that in a sense it smells very different how it smelled in the opening to how it smelled in the dry down. And also something that I want to put emphasis on before I tell you how it smells and everything like this is the fact that this fragrance, it feels like a chameleon, like it feels chameleonic in a sense, you know. And what I mean by this, when you smell it close to the skin, you get a type of scent profile. When you smell it in the whiffs or in the sillage or in the air, you get a different type of scent and texture of the fragrance. So if you have a sample of it, if you have the fragrance, definitely play with it in this aspect, you know, test it and try to smell it from here, try to smell it from close. What I have noticed is that this one smells much better in the air. Definitely much better in the air than it smells very close to the skin. But yeah, without further ado, let's just begin, you guys. Let me spray this fragrance again. Honestly, I don't want to spray a lot of it because, first of all, it's very strong. Very strong. Definitely less is more. Now, something that I have noticed right after you apply it, for a few seconds in the air, in the whiffs that you get from the fragrance without getting it very close to your nose, you get an oud accord, and the oud accord does feel slightly sour and slightly fermented, but the oud accord quickly morphs into something else, let's just say. And it's just, I get this nuance just for a few seconds, you know. Then as I lean closer to smell it deeper, it's very interesting because this fragrance opens up in such an unexpected way. Now I want to say something. Just look a little bit here at the notes. I will insert the notes here on the screen. To me, you guys, at least when I saw this fragrance and I tried to imagine how this fragrance would smell like, what notes would shine, you know, in things like this, it's impossible. I couldn't do it myself, honestly. It has so many notes, and definitely it's not the kind of fragrance that you blind buy. It's not the kind of fragrance that, it's the kind of fragrance that you take your time with and you test it, and you have to be open-minded with it, you know. This is why I would advise you to sample it first or get a decant. don't blind buy it, you know. But if you look at the note, you have a little bit of everything, you know. Now, when I smell it, it's very interesting because in the first, let's just say 7 to 10 minutes, when you smell it very close to the skin, not only that, in all honesty, it's a little bit harsh in the opening. This definitely evolves very beautifully as it starts to develop on your skin. It gets much smoother, much rounder, less harsh, you know. But when you smell it from here, you get the oud. You definitely get the oud accord. I get lots of leather and this very interesting and unexpected deep fresh green accord, or like fresh deep green accord. Yeah, fresh deep green accord is the kind of fresh accord. It's not your blue type of fresh, it's not your aquatic kind of fresh, it's not your shower gel type of freshness, you know. It's the kind of freshness that you have in old school barbershop fragrances. If you are familiar with those kind of fragrances, maybe your granddad used to wear something like this, you know, or those kind of products that do you know this kind of products that, like, back in the day, men, after they would shave their beard, you know, they would apply everywhere on their face. Oh my god, aftershave, oh my god. Yeah, it has something of that nature, but imagine in a barbershop type of scent family, let's say, you know. So it definitely took me by surprise. I was not expecting it to have such a pronounced green opening. And again, it's the kind of green that resembles something barbershop-like, you know. It's not your herbal green, like it is aromatic, but not like aromatic herbs type of green, you know. It's a very like grounding, deep, aromatic almost facet, but with freshness to it in a way, you know. It feels very interesting and it feels very cold at the same time. Now, is this fragrance, by the way, I will try to show you how oily it is. I hope you will be able to see. Ultra oily, you guys, so be careful if you spray this one on lighter clothes or lighter fabrics. So yes, this is how it smells like in the opening. I get lots of oud, lots of leather, and that green, like fresh barbershop type of green nuance. And it's very interesting because from time to time I almost detect something lavender-like, you know, but luckily this nuance doesn't stay here for long, because as it starts to develop, the fragrance starts to definitely get sweeter. And what I mean by this, this is a very interesting quality that I have noticed about this fragrance. As it starts to develop, not only that it starts to get definitely more and more warm, it starts to lose that cold sensation that it has in the opening, but also when you smell it in the whiffs, like in the sillage, when you smell it here, you get something that smells like, imagine this syrupy honey mixed with something not really citrusy, because it doesn't smell citric per se, and it's neither like floral, you know. Imagine more like a very concentrated orange blossom water, but the kind that kind that's very flavored, you know, that kind that you use to bake desserts, that type of orange blossom water, you know. So it's an orange blossom smell, but it's more flavored than floral, fresh, or that citrusy, if you know what I mean. So this is what I would say it's the gourmand accord, you know. These are like the sweeter notes, even though when I say gourmand, I don't mean edible, you know. It doesn't smell like a snack or like a dessert or anything like this, because you have those really deep, heavy bass notes that pull it very into a very different direction, I feel like. But it's almost like these notes are here to beautify a little bit of the bass and to almost make it a little bit more approachable, a little bit more warm in a sense, you know, definitely more approachable, because if it weren't for these notes, I definitely feel like this would be more of a masculine fragrance, you know. This is definitely not the kind of fragrance that screams femininity through every pore, you know. It's a beautiful fragrance, it's a balanced fragrance, but it's a heavy fragrance, you guys. It's a statement fragrance. It's the kind of fragrance that you need the courage to pull it off. It's the very bold, very daring, very unapologetic type of fragrance, you know. So this is something that I have noticed, and you will see this quality of the fragrance throughout the whole development of the fragrance. And what I mean by this is, from now on, when you smell it in the sillage, you will get the gourmand leaning notes first, the syrupy honey with that orange blossom that feel very concentrated and sweet and warm and syrupy and full-bodied and rich. And it almost feels like, imagine it's almost like they are coating the bass notes, you know. And when I say the bass notes, I'm talking about the oud chord, I'm talking about the leather that definitely is not like your new leather bag, new leather shoes, that type of leather, or like a freshly dyed kind of leather. It's more like your dusty, slightly funky old leather type of leather, you know, the kind of leather that's been left in the sun for too long, something like this, you know. It does have a slight funk to it. Now when I smell it, you do get a funk. It's almost like it's a little bit of a funk from the leather, a little bit of a funk from the oud with the greenness, that like green trio, you know. You have here oak moss, you have here patchouli, you have here vetiver, and all three shine. And I feel like as they develop, let's just say the different facets of the green trio start to shine even more, but you have that green trio, and that's the green trio that reminds me of a barbershop fragrance, but just a little bit, you know. But I feel like luckily, as this one starts to develop, you lose the fresh element of the green accord. So you're left with the green facets of the fragrance, but you're not left anymore with the freshness of the fragrance. And I feel like the freshness was throwing me off a little bit, because it's almost like, to my nose at least, it felt a little bit out of place in such a combo, you know, like the freshness. It's almost like the freshness was perceived as a little bit harsh to my nose. Whereas now that it's toned down, the fragrance went much smoother, much sweeter, much warmer, much denser, you know. So yes, this is what I wanted to say, that throughout the whole development, basically after you spray the fragrance 10 minutes in, from that moment till the last moment you will smell the fragrance on your skin. When you will smell it in the sillage, you get the sweet aspects first, that syrupy honey with the orange blossom. And it's almost like you smell the heavier notes through that sweet coating, or like through that sweet lens in a sense, you know what I mean? So it's not like you get not the harshness, but like the strength of each particular note. It's almost like that syrupy concoction that smells very sweet and beautiful. It's almost like they tone down a little bit of the strength of all the other notes. But what happens is, the closer you smell it to your skin, the more you get the leather, the more you get that green trio, the more you get the oud, the more you get like the base, like the heavier base, you know. Yeah, this is such an interesting aspect to the fragrance, I have to say. And this is why I want to say that to me, this smells the best, honestly, in the sillage. I feel like this fragrance was created for open spaces. I don't think this is the kind of fragrance that you wear, definitely not in your office or somewhere like in a very like closed small space. I think this fragrance needs room, like room to develop, room to travel in a sense. It's very projecting, you know. And not only that it's very projecting, you guys, but it's very complex. You also have a slight sharpness from the spices in the opening. Think something red tobacco like, but without fully going into the red tobacco territory. I'm just talking about the spicy element, you know. It's almost like that same slightly sharp, slightly sweet, slightly spicy nuance, but what I mean by that is like sweet and spicy in a sharp way, you know. You have it here as well, but again, you have more of that in the opening, because as it starts to develop, you guys, to me this is like like I've mentioned, you know, the gourmand accord with the heavy base, you know, and the gourmand accord almost envelops the heavier base. So when you smell the heavier notes, you smell them through that gourmand leaning lens, you know. And I feel like this is the key when it comes to understanding this fragrance, at least to me, you know. This is the best way I can describe it. And this is such an interesting element. I don't know if I have noticed this aspect with a lot of fragrances. Legit, you guys, it feels like a two-in-one type of fragrance, you know, like you smell it from here, you get the sweetness, the quality, like that syrupy quality of the honey, you get that like flavored element of the orange blossom. You smell it from here, and don't get me wrong, when you smell it from here, you still get the heavier notes, but I feel like here, in the sillage, the heavier notes are almost like it's almost like they play more of a supporting role to the gourmand accord, to give slight depth, slight richness, slight complexity. Whereas when you smell it very close to the skin, it's the heavy base that you smell first, and the gourmand nuances are almost like a little bit hidden behind the heavy base, you know. And this is why I say this to me smells the best in the air, in the sillage. Definitely less is more with this fragrance, you guys, especially if you want to wear it in a classy way. I feel like if you want to wear it in an elegant manner, do less sprays. But I'm telling you, if you do less sprays, people who are drawn, like when people will smell this fragrance on you, and let's just say someone really enjoys this fragrance, it's almost like this fragrance has the effect to make people lean closer to you, you know, like one step closer to you, just to be able to smell it on you. And I feel like that's the magnetic and the beauty That's the magnetic quality of the fragrance. Let's just leave it like this, you know. The fact that if, let's just say, when people enjoy it, they're almost like pulled towards you just to be able to smell it closer, just to be able to experience the fragrance closer to you, you know. Whereas if you were to do like 15, 20, 30 sprays of this fragrance, you would legit choke everyone and it wouldn't be such a pleasant experience, you know. This is why I say, if you're a man, if you're a woman and you want to wear this fragrance but you want that magnetic quality of the fragrance to shine, do less sprays. Definitely do less sprays as it reaches the heart. Let's just say that fresh element, like I've said, it completely tones down the fresh element from the green accord. You still have the leather, you still have the oud, but the oud here, for instance, to my nose, it plays more of a supporting role. You don't get so much of the facets and the textures of an oud accord per se. Like, it just adds a little bit of depth in the sense, you know. It's not the kind of fragrance where the oud really shines, you know. It's nothing like Ben Sheikh, for instance, you know, that fragrance that is made around the heavy oud accord, your Hindi style of oud, very sour, very pungent, very animalic, slightly fermented. Here the oud is, I don't want to say that it's more tamed, because you still get the oud, but it's more tamed in a sense that it's covered in all these beautifying notes, in a sense, you know. So you only get hints of the oud, you get the depth of the oud accord, but you don't get as much of the funk. Even though, keep this aspect in mind, you guys, when my partner smelled this fragrance, he told me that the oud here definitely has a barnyard edge to it. So I don't know, maybe it depends on your tolerance to oud, I don't know. This is why I say test it for yourself, because fragrance at the end of the day is so subjective, you guys. It's so subjective. So yes. And also, as it starts to reach the heart, I feel like it's the patchouli from that green trio that I told you. I feel like it's the patchouli that starts to shine a little bit more, and it almost adds this slight, almost like a slight minty aromatic depth to the fragrance, slightly grounding, but it doesn't overshine the other notes, let's say, you know. I feel like the overall fragrance is pretty balanced. Now keep in mind, it's pretty balanced if you don't smell it from here. If you smell it from here, it can feel a little bit sharp to the nose, especially if you're not used to really heavy fragrances. But like I've said, the trick is to smell it from somewhere over here, you know. Yeah, when I smell it here, I get the oud more as well. And the greenness really shines, you guys. So yeah, imagine, you guys, like if you've tried Scandal from Jean Paul Gaultier, imagine like Scandal, so you have the honey, but imagine like the orange blossom here, it's not like your floral, you know, you don't have honey with tuberose, you have here honey, like a very syrupy, sweet honey, that's very like rich and full-bodied, mixed with an orange blossom concentrated water, something like this, so it's very flavored. You do have a little bit of patchouli, a little bit of oak moss. The vetiver doesn't shine as much at this point. So imagine Scandal, but more Middle Eastern leaning, I feel like, and also a little bit more unisex, you know. It's not as, it doesn't exude this femininity, you know, but it's very interesting because it does have some like typically feminine facets, you know, that add a very interesting, almost like a playful aura to the fragrance, but you also have your like heavy, more deep, more mysterious, more like masculine elements of the fragrance, you know. So it's a very interesting balance between these aspects. I feel like this is pretty much everything I wanted to say about this fragrance, you guys. Touching on gender quickly, this is a unisex fragrance. Now look, if you're a man and you wanted to wear something, you wanted at least to experience with some sweeter fragrances, and you didn't want to fully go into the typical feminine leaning fragrances per se, this is a good one to start with. But keep in mind, you do have to appreciate sweet facets to the fragrance, you know, this does have sweetness. Now, on the other hand, if you're a woman, don't be sold on the honey and orange blossom, because it's not just a gourmand fragrance. Like I've said, you do have the beautifying gourmand elements to the fragrance, but they cover the really heavy and decadent base, you know. This fragrance feels very like multifaceted, very complex, very bold and daring, you know. So you need to appreciate leather, you need to appreciate an oud accord, you need to appreciate green facets, and I feel like the key aspect is you need to appreciate the green facet in fragrances, because this does have some greenness to it, you know, and I was not expecting this greenness to be as pronounced, but it is, especially when you smell it very close, you know. So yeah, overall, I feel like this is a beautiful, like a decadent, bold, sophisticated type of fragrance, you guys. Like, one thing about this house that I really respect them for they're not afraid to come up with something like this, not to come up, to come out with something like this. Like you want your more French-like fragrances, you want your inspirations, you have them. And not only that you have them, but it's almost like they upgraded that DNA, but then you also have your heavy, decadent, ultra opulent and royal and statement and extroverted kind of fragrances, your very Middle Eastern leading fragrances. So you have a little bit of everything, but I really respect the fact that they are not afraid to come up with something. Again, to come up. Why do I keep saying come up? It's come out with something like this. And definitely this is not that kind of fragrance that it's like an easy reach, easy sell type of fragrance, you know. You need to have an acquired taste for this fragrance. You need to love more Middle Eastern leaning fragrances. You need to love heavier fragrances. This is not your grab and go type of fragrance unless you really have a taste for this kind of fragrance, you know. So yes, personally, I love to smell it on my partner. I feel like it smells amazing on him. On me, you guys, on me, I love it in the sillage, but I don't like to smell it up close because I feel like, I don't know, the green element shines a bit more than I would prefer it to on my skin. But on clothes, in the air, you know, it smells so beautiful because it's this very interesting like combination between honey and orange blossom with oud and leather and green facet. You know, it's a combination that you don't come across every day, I feel like, or at least I don't come across it every day. So yes, let me quickly touch on the performance. This performs, you guys. Like I've mentioned, less is definitely more. Please don't overdo it. Don't overdo it because it kills the whole magnetism of the fragrance, in my opinion, if you overdo it. You know, it's just like with Bin Sheikh, you know, like if you overdo it, instead of smelling like attractive and beautiful and confident and bold, it smells like, it legit smells like someone like washed themselves in a bath full of fragrance, you know. And I don't think this is the vibe that the majority of people are going for, you know. Less is more if you want to keep it classy, you know, in my opinion. Of course, you do whatever floats your boat. I am just sharing my 2 cents on the fragrance. So yes, more than 7 hours longevity on skin. On clothes it lasts for days. Honestly, on clothes it lasts until you wash your clothes. It's such a strong fragrance, and the fact that it's so oily really helps because the fragrance sticks to everything. It sticks to your skin, to your hair, to your clothes, to wherever you apply it, and it makes it last, you know. So this is the kind of fragrance that if you don't like it, you need to take a shower to take it off, you know, especially if you apply this one in your hair, like you need to wash your hair to take the fragrance off. So yes, also projection is very loud. This is why I feel like it's the kind of fragrance that works better in like open spaces. In closed spaces, especially if you do one or two many sprays, it can feel slightly suffocating and choking, especially for people who don't have a taste for this kind of fragrances, you know, especially for those. And we should be mindful of all people. So sillage is amazing. It's the kind of fragrance that forms like a cloud of scent around you, you know, so wherever you walk, you have like your little like nuclear cloud of fragrance around you. So yes, I feel like this is everything I wanted to say. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Also, if you have tried this fragrance, please share your thoughts about the fragrance. If you're a man, if you're a woman, please share your feedback on the fragrance down below, because everyone who's interested in this fragrance and watches this video, I'm sure they could really use your feedback as well. So if you don't mind, please share your thoughts on the fragrance. Let me know, do you love it? Do you hate it? What notes shine the most to you? Do you find it similar to other fragrances? What's your overall experience with the fragrance? So yes, you guys, what else? Yeah, this is everything I wanted to say. Don't forget you can follow me on Instagram. I will see you in my next video, but until then, thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I want to wish you an amazing day wherever you are. Bye.